As we've seen in just recent weeks, Ohio's become a frequent stop for both the Democratic and Republican campaigns. Joining me live this morning to talk about how important Ohio is in the presidential election is Dr. Lee Hanna from Wright State University. Ohio's really turned into it went from a purple state to really more of a red state in recent years. But as they say, as go Ohio, so goes the nation. So do you think Ohio really still is a swing state when it comes to the presidential race? And what other states do we need to be looking out for?
Yeah, it's a bit interesting to me, too. I figured at least this late in the campaign that we would see both campaigns in some of the states that look to be closer to that 270 tipping point. So a state like Pennsylvania, I think will be really critical, or Florida. But we continue to see visits here, especially from the Trump campaign. So I think that we're a pretty decent bellwether or at least we're a battleground. We're pretty close this time around. I'm not sure if we're a good bellwether or if if we should anticipate that, if you look at kind of the polling, we're on par with Texas, more so than Pennsylvania or Michigan or Florida, some of these other swing states.
Certainly a lot of states in play this presidential cycle. Let's move now to early voting and absentee voting. We've already reached half the vote total of the 2016 election. What does this all mean for the candidates?
Yeah, so, the big question is this just the same electorate that came out in 2016, but they're voting early, or is this a different looking electorate? And so we have about 75 million votes cast early, either in person or by mail. And the latest analysis shows that about 20 million of these are new voters. And so that's really important when you're trying to consider, whether this is a different looking electorate. And so both campaigns are watching, the party registration of who's voting, the profile, where the voters are coming from, within those key states, and, trying to determine what's left to still pursue on election day. And when I want to go back and say it's not necessarily new voters, it's voters who didn't vote in 2016. So about 20 million voters who voted early were not present in 2016. It does look like we're going to break some turnout records. I think the latest estimates have about 155 million to 160 million voters. That's compared to 2016, where it was 140 million. So definitely there is a sign of there's a lot of interest and a lot of people are turning out.
Real quick, does the early voting and absentee voting favor more Democrats or Republicans?
It may vary a bit by state and what state, officials are doing to encourage early voting, what Senate candidates are doing to encourage early voting. But I think definitely if you look at the different strategy between the Biden campaign, where they really encouraged a voting plan and locking in your vote early, compared to the Trump campaign, where they have they've undermined some of those efforts and questioned the validity of early voting, it does seem like the early votes will certainly favor the Democrats, and more than likely on election day, it'll be a matter of how many Republicans are there to kind of catch up, who will be voting on election day.
Of course, we always love checking in with you on anything politics related. You're going to be with our Nightside team on election night, only a few days away. Dr. Lee Hanna, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Nathan.